Hey, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be going into the storming of the Dragon Pit. But before we begin, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, let's jump straight into it. The storming of the Dragon Pit took place during the riot of King's Landing during the Dance of the Dragons. During the riots, a mob, urged on by the shepherd's rantings, forced their way into the Dragon Pit atop the hill of Rhaenys and slew 4 dragons housed within, as well as Syrax, who was loosed above the city. The fearful citizens of King's Landing broke out into a riot the night Queen Helaena Targaryen killed herself. During the first night of these riots, the mobs plundered and killed all over the city, hacked the river gate to pieces, and killed Sir Luther Largent and his 500 gold cloaks on Cobbler's Square. And when they arrived to arrest the shepherd himself fled the gold cloaks. Although most of the mobs fled at dawn, they returned in greater numbers the following night, dubbed the last day by Munkin. The shepherd appeared once again at Cobbler's Square to preach against the large crowd which had formed on the square. The people feared the arrival of King Aegon's dragons and army, but the shepherd told his lambs that everyone would burn when the dragons arrived, and that prayers would not be able to stay the wrath of the stranger. Instead, the shepherd claimed that the only way the city would be able to achieve salvation was by killing the dragons in the Dragon Pit. Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen and her sons Joffrey and Aegon Targaryen looked on with their loyalists from atop the roof of Maegor's Holdfast. Although Rhaenyra had sent riders to Sir Balon Birch at the Old Gate and Sir Garth the Harelip at the Dragon Gate to seize the shepherd, disperse his followers, and protect the dragons, they did not know whether the riders had been able to reach their destinations. Prince Joffrey wished to ride forth to protect the dragons, but Rhaenyra refused to allow it, insisting that they would need every man to defend Aegon's high hill after the hill of Rhaenys fell. Joffrey, fearing his own dragon, Tyraxes, would be killed, slipped away to the yard and loosed his mother's dragon, Syrax. Mounted on Syrax's back, the prince flew out over the city. Whether it was his intent to fly the dragon into battle or fly to the Dragon Pit to fetch his own dragon Tyraxes, and perhaps the other dragons as well, it is unknown. Fearful, Rhaenyra ordered men to return her son to the castle. Sir Maedric Manderly, Sir Loreth Lansdale, and Sir Harold Dark, Sir Harman of the Reeds, Sir Giles Younward, Sir William Royce, Sir Glendon Good, 6 squires, 8 gold cloaks, and 20 men-at-arms, rode forth from the Red Keep and fought their way through the city in an attempt to reach the prince. Joffrey, however, was unable to remain on Syrax's back once they were in the air, and slid from her back 200 feet above Flea Bottom and plunged to his death. The 7 who rode came upon his body as the mob was cutting it to pieces and managed to reclaim every part of it except for a foot. The City Watch marched forth from their barracks at the Dragon's Gate to defend the Hill of Rhaenys, but could not halt the mob. Less than 50 dragon keepers stood guard at the second night of the riots, but although they defended the Dragon Pit to the best of their abilities, the mobs eventually smashed through the doors of the Dragon Pit's lesser entrances, made of oak and iron, by using crude rams and axes. Others climbed in through windows. During the battle, all dragon keepers were slaughtered. Inside, the 4 dragons had been awakened, roused, and angered by the sounds of the attack. Unable to fly away as they had been chained, the 4 dragons fought with their horns, claws, and teeth. They let loose their dragon flame and transformed the Dragon Pit into a fiery inferno. The first dragon to die was Shykros, who was killed by Hob the Hewer. Hob leapt onto her neck and drove his axe down into the dragon's skull. He took 7 blows according to Septon Eustace. Next died Morgul, slain by the Burning Knight, who rushed into the dragon's flame and stabbed him repeatedly in the eye with his spear until he burned to his own death. Tyraxes burned those who rushed at him from his lair, until the front entrance of the lair was completely blocked with corpses. However, after the shepherd instructed his followers to break through the back door of the dragon's lair, the dragon became entangled in his own chains and was slain by the mob. His membranes were afterwards sliced from his wings and torn into strips so dragon skin cloaks could be fashioned from them. Dreamfire was able to break free from her remaining bonds. She took wing, circled the cavernous interior of the dome, and swooped down to attack the men below. She slew more men than the other 3 dragons combined. Archers and crossbowmen loosed arrows and quarrels at her, and whenever she landed, men swarmed her to attack, driving her back into the air. Eventually, one of her eyes was nicked by a crossbow bolt. Half blind and maddened, Dreamfire flew into the dragon pit's greatest dome above, which cracked on impact. Half of it came tumbling down, crushing her and the dragon slayers under tons of broken stone and rubble. No one knows how many people died that night, hundreds, possibly even thousands, with many more having been injured. Following the destruction of the roof, the storming of the dragon pit ended. Yet Rhaenyra Targaryen's dragon Syrax, freed from the Red Keep stables by her son Joffrey Velaryon, now descended on the survivors who came forth from the smoking ruins. According to Mushroom, 1,000 shrieks and shouts echoed across the city, mingling with the dragon's roar. The hill of Rhaenys looked as if it wore a crown of yellow fire, burning so bright that it seemed the sun was rising. Instead of breathing fire onto the mobs from above, Syrax flew down and attacked the mob with her teeth and claws, devouring the people below. Rhaenyra watches Syrax's end from atop the roof of Maegor's Holdfast, clutching her only surviving son, Aegon, in her arms until Syrax fell to the ground. Mushroom, Septon Eustace, and Grand Maester Munkin have written down accounts of Syrax's death. According to Munkin, Hob the Hewer killed the dragon with his axe, although Archmaester Galdwin believes that this is almost certainly mistaken, as he considers it unlikely that the same man could have slain 2 dragons the same night and in the same manner. Others have suggested an unnamed spearman, a blood-soaked giant who leapt onto the dragon's back, while others tell of Sir Warwick Wheaton, who supposedly slashed a wing from Syrax with a Valyrian steel sword. Galdwin believes Lamentation to have been the most likely option. Being a crossbowman claimed responsibility for Syrax's death afterwards, and boasted of it frequently, until one of Rhaenyra's supporters grew tired of his stories and cut out his tongue. Galdwin argues that it's possible that all the candidates, except for Hob the Hewer, played some role in the dragon's death. However, the tale most frequently told in King's Landing is that of the shepherd. According to the tale, as others fled, the shepherd faced Syrax on his own, calling upon the Seven for succor, until the warrior himself took form, 30 feet tall, with a black blade made of smoke that turned to steel. Even Septon Eustace repeats this tale on his account, while singers sang about it for many years. Shaken by the loss of her dragon and her son Joffrey Velaryon, Rhaenyra Targaryen was inconsolable, according to Mushroom. Her counselors agreed that King's Landing was lost to them, and they managed to convince Rhaenyra to abandon the city. Rhaenyra agreed reluctantly and fled the next day, sneaking out of the city with some of her loyalists and her son Aegon. Rhaenyra reached, after great difficulty, her own castle Dragonstone, where she was subsequently captured by King Aegon, whose people had taken the castle during the previous weeks. So what did you guys think of the storming of the Dragon Pit? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.